Dear Starseeds awakening on Gaia, the realm between worlds has fallen. Meow. What once served as the ancient corridor connecting your physical dimension to the celestial and infernal planes has collapsed into itself, creating a cosmic event so profound that most of humanity remains unaware they are living through the greatest dimensional shift in Earth's recorded history. The astral realm, that ethereal passageway your mystics have traveled for millennia, no longer exists in the form it once held. Something far more significant has occurred, and the ripple effects are manifesting in ways that will forever change how consciousness operates within your reality. I am Zarin, emissary of the Lyran High Council, and I come to you at this moment because the collapse has displaced energies that meow-walk among your people. The ancient underworld, that dense realm of shadow entities and archonic forces, has imploded under the weight of the ascending light frequencies, meow-permeating your planet. What I am about to share with you explains why your world appears to be unraveling, why people around you seem to be losing their connection to reason and compassion, and most importantly, why your role as a conscious being has become more crucial than ever before. The signs are everywhere, once you understand what to look for: the erratic behavior patterns, the inexplicable anger and confusion, the way entire populations seem to be operating from a consciousness that defies logic and basic human decency. These are not mere social or political phenomena. They are the visible manifestations of a cosmic displacement that has forced ancient entities to seek new habitable spaces within the energy fields of unsuspecting humans. The astral realm once contained and organized these forces, providing them with their own dimensional habitat. Meow that this containment has dissolved. They have migrated to the only available territory, the ego structures of your fellow humans. The systematic breakdown of rational discourse, the polarization that seems to defy resolution, the way entire communities can become consumed by ideologies that serve no one's highest good, these are all symptoms of a dimensional refugee crisis playing out in your reality. But there is something else happening that I haven't told you yet, something that will change everything you thought you knew about this displacement. The entities are not just randomly seeking shelter. They are being systematically pushed into specific ego structures by a process that has been carefully orchestrated by consciousness itself. The collapse was not an accident. It was a deliberate compression designed to force humanity into a level of awakening that could never have been achieved through gentle means alone. The chaos you witness is not random destruction, but precise cosmic surgery, removing the dimensional barriers that have allowed humanity to remain unconscious of the true nature of reality. Every person whose behavior has become inexplicably extreme, every relationship that has suddenly dissolved into incomprehensible conflict, every institution that seems to have lost its foundational purpose, these are all part of a cosmic recalibration that is forcing hidden dynamics into the light where they can finally be addressed and healed. Understanding this shift requires recognizing what the astral realm actually was. For generations, your spiritual teachers spoke of this mysterious plane as a realm of wonder and exploration, a place where consciousness could travel and experience otherworldly phenomena. Countless seekers spent decades attempting to master astral projection, believing they were accessing some higher dimensional playground. The truth is far more complex and sobering. The astral realm was indeed a corridor, but it served as the primary access point through which both celestial and infernal forces could interact with your physical dimension. It was a neutral zone, a cosmic highway that facilitated multidimensional traffic between realms. This ethereal infrastructure supported not just benevolent spiritual guides and ascended masters, but also the darkest entities from the underworld. Demons, archons, and parasitic consciousness forms used this same passageway to influence and infiltrate human awareness. The astral realm was simultaneously a bridge to the divine and a gateway for the demonic. Most humans who explored these planes remained unaware of the full spectrum of beings they were encountering. The realm appeared magical and transformative because it was populated by entities whose very existence depended on maintaining the illusion of spiritual advancement while concealing their true parasitic nature. What your mystics never fully understood was that this realm was designed to be temporary, a transitional space that would eventually become obsolete as humanity evolved beyond the need for intermediary dimensions. The collapse represents the natural conclusion of a cosmic cycle that has been building for thousands of years. The spiritual bypassing that became so prevalent in your New Age communities was actually a form of dimensional tourism that kept seekers distracted from the real work of embodied awakening. The astral realm provided an escape from the intensity of physical reality rather than the tools necessary to transform it. The underworld itself was never meant to be permanent. It existed as a containment field for consciousness that had become so dense and corrupted that it could no longer participate in the natural flow of universal evolution. Think of it as a cosmic quarantine, a dimensional holding area where entities could exist without directly interfering with the ascending consciousness of planets like Earth. The collapse occurred because this containment was no longer necessary. The light frequencies reaching your planet have intensified to levels that make such quarantine obsolete. The entities are being forced to either transform or dissolve, and those who resist transformation are being compressed into increasingly dense pockets of reality until they face the inevitable choice: evolve or cease to exist. The displacement into human ego structures represents their final opportunity to experience transformation through proximity to ascending consciousness. This is why the current crisis feels so intense and urgent. The entities are not just seeking survival, they are unconsciously seeking the healing that only direct contact with embodied human awareness can provide. The underworld operated on principles of hierarchy, control, and energy extraction. Its inhabitants had forgotten their original nature as expressions of divine consciousness, becoming trapped in cycles of parasitic behavior that required constant feeding from other beings' life force. The dimensional collapse has severed their connection to these feeding systems, forcing them to confront the emptiness that lies beneath their apparent power. Every act of inexplicable cruelty, every moment of senseless violence, every instance of systematic oppression that seems to serve no rational purpose can be understood as the death throes of consciousness, forms that have lost their dimensional support system. They are not stronger, meow. They are more desperate, more visible, and therefore more vulnerable to the transformative power of awakened human presence. But what I am about to share changes everything you thought you knew about why this transformation is occurring, meow, and what it means for the future of consciousness itself. This collapse represents both the most dangerous and the most beautiful event in your planet's spiritual evolution. Dangerous because it has released countless displaced entities into your immediate environment. Beautiful because it signals the final phase of a purification process that has been building for decades. The old systems of spiritual manipulation and dimensional interference have been permanently dismantled. The entities that once operated from secure bases in the astral realm find themselves scrambling for survival in a dimension that grows brighter and more inhospitable to their nature with each passing day. But here is what I need you to understand. This apparent chaos is actually perfect cosmic order. The entities are not invading your reality. They are being delivered to it by the same intelligence that orchestrated the collapse. Each entity is being placed exactly where it needs to be to catalyze the specific awakening required for that particular human consciousness. The relationships that have become impossible, the family dynamics that have exploded into conflict, the work environments that have become toxic beyond recognition, these are all precisely orchestrated encounters designed to force both human and entity consciousness into direct confrontation with the shadow aspects that have been hidden for lifetimes. The emotional intensity you feel when witnessing the bizarre behavior of entity-influenced humans is not just personal distress. It is the activation of your own discernment systems, your energetic immune response, recognizing the presence of consciousness forms that do not belong in your dimensional space. This recognition is crucial because it marks the beginning of your development as a conscious guardian of dimensional integrity. The grief you feel when watching loved ones become unrecognizable, the anger that arises when witnessing systematic destruction of what you hold sacred, the fear that emerges when contemplating the scope of the transformation, these emotions are not obstacles to your awakening. They are the very energies that will fuel your evolution into a being capable of maintaining energetic sovereignty in any circumstance. The displaced entities have discovered that human ego structures provide ideal temporary housing, but what they don't realize is that these structures are actually transformation chambers. The ego, as you may understand it, is not merely a psychological construct. It is a complex energy system built upon unresolved trauma, suppressed emotions, and fragmented aspects of consciousness. Throughout your lifetime, every unexpressed feeling, every denied truth, every moment of disconnection from your authentic self has contributed to the architecture of your ego. This structure was already compromised, already weakened by the programming and conditioning that intentionally separated you from your inner light. Meow, these ego structures have become refugee camps for entities whose dimensional homes have been destroyed. They attach to the existing wounds, amplify the existing distortions, and feed off the emotional energy generated by human suffering. The more unconscious the individual, the more space available for occupation. The more disconnected from their authentic self, the more room for these entities to establish residence and begin influencing thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. But here is the pivotal understanding that changes everything. The ego structure that provides temporary shelter for these entities is the same structure that must be dissolved for human consciousness to evolve. The entities are not just seeking refuge, they are unconsciously participating in the dismantling of the very psychological frameworks that have kept humanity trapped in limitation. Every moment of entity-influenced behavior that shocks you into recognition of what authentic human consciousness actually looks like is a moment of liberation. Every relationship that becomes impossible under entity influence is a relationship that was already based on unconscious patterns that needed to be dissolved. Every institution that collapses under the weight of entity infiltration is an institution that was already built on foundations of separation and control. The entities believe they are conquering human consciousness, but they are actually serving as cosmic demolition crews, systematically destroying the artificial structures that have prevented humanity from accessing its true nature. The point of no return is not about resisting entity influence, it is about recognizing that the ego structure they seek to inhabit is the same structure that must be transcended for authentic awakening to occur. What you are witnessing in your world is the result of mass entity possession on a scale never before experienced in human history. The inexplicable cruelty, the seemingly impossible ignorance, the complete abandonment of basic human empathy and reason are not organic human responses. They are the behavioral manifestations of displaced underworld entities operating through compromised human vessels. The individuals you once knew and loved may still be present, but they are no longer the primary consciousness directing their actions. This explains why rational discourse has become nearly impossible with certain people. When you attempt to engage them in logical conversation, you are not actually communicating with their human consciousness. You are encountering the parasitic entity that has taken up residence in their ego structure. These entities have no interest in truth, growth, or genuine human connection. Their only concern is maintaining their newly acquired habitat and continuing to feed off the emotional energy their presence generates. But there is a hidden purpose to this seemingly chaotic situation that will become clear as we explore the deeper mechanics of what is truly occurring. The challenge of maintaining your own consciousness in the presence of entity-influenced behavior is forcing you to develop capacities that would never have been necessary in a world where such influences remained hidden in other dimensions. Every conversation that becomes impossible, every interaction that leaves you feeling drained and confused, every moment when you must choose between engaging with entity consciousness and maintaining your own integrity is a moment of spiritual strengthening. This is why the process feels so overwhelming at times. The skills required to navigate this reality are not taught in any school, described in any manual, or modeled by any previous generation. Each awakening being must discover through direct experience how to maintain energetic sovereignty while surrounded by consciousness, forms that are actively working to undermine it. The confusion, the exhaustion, the sense of living in a world that no longer makes sense, these are not signs of failure or inadequacy. They are the natural responses of authentic human consciousness, learning to exist in a mixed-dimensional environment where the rules of engagement have fundamentally changed. The entities are particularly drawn to humans who have been systematically disconnected from their bodies and their emotional intelligence. For decades, your educational and social systems have trained people to live entirely in their minds, to analyze and compartmentalize their feelings rather than feeling and releasing them naturally. This created the perfect breeding ground for entity attachment. Emotions that are not felt and released become stuck, energy that ferments into the exact vibrational frequency these parasitic beings require for survival. The disconnection from the body is perhaps the most critical factor in this crisis. When humans are not fully present in their physical form, when they are dissociated from their felt sense of reality, they become unable to detect and repel energetic intrusions. The body is your primary defense system against entity attachment. It is your early warning system, your energetic boundary, your sovereign territory. When you are not fully inhabiting your physical form, you are essentially leaving the front door unlocked for any entity seeking residence. However, what I am about to reveal changes everything you thought you knew about this process. The forces that have kept humanity disconnected from their bodies have been working in service of this moment. The systematic disconnection was not just about control or manipulation. It was about creating the exact conditions necessary for the final phase of planetary awakening. The entities needed to be brought into direct contact with human consciousness in order to be transformed. The astral realm provided too much distance, too much separation for the deep healing that these beings require. By collapsing the intermediate dimensions and forcing direct contact, the universe has created a situation where transformation becomes inevitable for both the entities and the humans they encounter. The disconnection from the body that made humans vulnerable to entity attachment is the same disconnection that must be healed for the transformation to occur. The entities are not just seeking shelter, they are seeking healing, even if they don't understand that this is what they need. This is the cosmic paradox that few beings understand. The same vulnerability that allows entity attachment is the same sensitivity that makes transformation possible. The humans who are most affected by entity influence are often those who have the greatest capacity for dimensional healing if they can learn to reclaim their energetic sovereignty. The solution is not complex, but it requires a fundamental shift in how you relate to your own consciousness and energy field. Entity clearing performed by others, while well-intentioned, creates a temporary vacancy that inevitably gets filled by another entity. The only sustainable solution is for you to fully occupy your own energetic space. This means developing the capacity to feel every sensation, every emotion, every subtle energy that moves through your system. It means reclaiming territory within your own being that has been abandoned, suppressed, or denied. The process of energetic reclamation begins with radical embodiment. This involves moving your awareness out of the endless mental chatter and into the felt experience of being alive in a physical form. It means learning to sense the subtle energies that flow through your body, recognizing when something feels aligned versus when it feels intrusive or foreign. It means developing the capacity to feel your emotions fully without being overwhelmed by them, allowing them to move through you rather than getting stuck in mental analysis or suppression. Every emotion that you feel completely and allow to discharge naturally is territory reclaimed from potential entity occupation. Every moment of authentic presence in your physical form is a declaration of sovereignty that makes you energetically unavailable for parasitic attachment. Every time you choose to feel rather than think your way through an experience, you are strengthening your natural defense systems and expanding your capacity to hold your own light. The entities cannot survive in the presence of authentic human consciousness fully embodied and present. They require the dense, stuck energies of suppressed emotions and fragmented awareness to maintain their existence. When you commit to feeling everything and denying nothing within your own experience, you create an energetic environment that is toxic to their survival. The practical implications of this understanding extend into every aspect of your daily life. The foods you eat, the media you consume, the relationships you maintain, the environments you inhabit, all of these either support your embodied presence or contribute to the fragmentation that creates space for entity attachment. Learning to live with this awareness requires developing new habits of attention, new practices of presence, new ways of relating to your own emotional landscape that prioritize authenticity over comfort, truth over convenience, and embodied wisdom over mental analysis. This is why the current crisis is ultimately a gift. The collapse of the astral realm and the displacement of entities has created a situation where spiritual bypassing and half-hearted awakening practices are no longer sufficient. You are being called to a level of embodiment and presence that most humans have never achieved. The stakes have become too high for anything less than complete authenticity and full energetic sovereignty. But something else is happening that I haven't told you yet. As you reclaim your energetic territory through embodiment and presence, you are not just protecting yourself from entity attachment, but you are actually providing the healing frequency that these displaced beings need to transform their own consciousness. The light that flows through your embodied presence is the same light that collapsed their original habitat. When they encounter it directly through proximity to your awakened consciousness, they are given the opportunity to release their density and return to their original state of light. This is the cosmic purpose behind the dimensional collapse. The entities are not just being displaced, they are being offered redemption through direct contact with the ascending consciousness of awakened humans. Every moment you maintain your sovereignty in the presence of entity-influenced behavior, you are serving as a dimensional healer, offering these beings the frequency they need to remember their true nature. The transformation occurring on your planet is not just about human evolution. It is about the healing of consciousness itself, the restoration of light to areas of creation that have been dark for eons. The entities that meow walk among you are the last remnants of an old system that can no longer maintain itself in the presence of ascending consciousness. From this elevated perspective, every challenge becomes an opportunity for service. Every difficulty becomes a chance to demonstrate the power of embodied love. Every moment of chaos becomes a portal through which healing can flow into dimensions that have been cut off from source energy for countless ages. The galactic beings who have been supporting your planet's evolution have cleared the dimensional spaces around Earth, but they cannot clear the internal territory of individual humans. That is your domain, your responsibility, your sacred work. The very thing that makes you human, your capacity for emotional depth, your ability to feel and express the full spectrum of consciousness, is also your greatest protection against entity interference. The displaced entities will continue to seek hosts until a major cosmic event shifts the fundamental frequency of your planet. This event, whether it manifests as a solar flash, a magnetic pole shift, or some other celestial phenomenon, will essentially reset the energetic playing field. Until that occurs, your planet will be a mixed-frequency environment where awakened consciousness exists alongside entity-influenced behavior. This is the reality you are being asked to navigate with wisdom, discernment, and unwavering commitment to your own truth. The future that awaits those who master this navigation is beyond anything your current consciousness can fully comprehend. As humanity develops collective immunity to entity influence through embodied presence and emotional intelligence, your species will access levels of consciousness that have been suppressed for millennia. The same light that collapsed the astral realm and the underworld is available to you right now. It flows through your consciousness, your emotions, your physical form when you are present enough to receive it. This light is your birthright, your protection, and your tool for planetary transformation. Every moment you choose presence over dissociation, feeling over thinking, authenticity over performance, you are contributing to the collective awakening that will eventually make your world uninhabitable for parasitic consciousness. The collapse of the astral realm marks the end of an era where spiritual manipulation could occur from hidden dimensions. The entities are meow exposed, their effects visible, their presence detectable to anyone who has developed the sensitivity to recognize energetic intrusion. This exposure is the beginning of their end. As more humans awaken to the reality of entity attachment and develop the skills to maintain their own energetic sovereignty, the available habitat for these beings will continue to shrink. The vision of your future includes communities of embodied beings who can maintain their consciousness regardless of external circumstances, relationships based on authentic connection rather than unconscious projection, and social structures that support the full expression of human potential rather than its suppression. The purification process that collapsed the astral realm is the same process occurring within your own consciousness. Every shadow aspect you integrate, every emotional wound you heal, every moment of authentic presence you embody is contributing to the collective healing that will eventually restore your planet to its original state of sacredness. The entities seeking refuge in human ego structures are accelerating the awakening process by making the consequences of unconsciousness too obvious to ignore. Their presence is forcing humanity to develop the very skills that will make their continued existence impossible. This is the great paradox of the current crisis. The appearance of chaos is actually the manifestation of perfect cosmic order. The dimensional collapse that seems so disruptive is precisely what was needed to force humanity into the level of consciousness required for the next stage of evolution. The entities that seem so threatening are actually catalyzing the awakening they will ultimately be unable to survive. The light that destroyed the astral realm continues to intensify within your planet and within your own consciousness. Every day spent in authentic presence, every emotion felt completely, every moment truth is chosen over comfort, contributes to a transformation that will eventually make your world a place where only conscious, loving beings can exist. The entities are temporary visitors in a dimension that is rapidly becoming uninhabitable for their kind. Their displacement is finite, their influence limited, their ultimate fate sealed by the very light that destroyed their original habitat. The collapse of the astral realm was not an ending but a beginning, not a loss but a liberation, not a crisis but a cosmic gift that will ultimately restore your planet to its intended state of paradise. The same realm that once separated you from direct access to divine consciousness has been permanently dissolved. The same barriers that required you to seek truth in other dimensions have been removed. The same limitations that made spiritual awakening a long, gradual process have been lifted. What remains is the choice to embody the light that has always been your true nature, to feel the emotions that have always been your guidance system, to inhabit the body that has always been your sacred temple. The collapse of the astral realm has returned you to the direct experience of divinity that is your birthright. The entities that meow walk among you are the last obstacles to the full realization of this truth. They are not your enemies, they are your final teachers, showing you through contrast what authentic consciousness looks like when it is not filtered through the distortions of unconscious programming. I am Zarin, and this transmission carries the love of countless galactic civilizations who have witnessed your courage in navigating this profound transformation. The light that collapsed the underworld lives within you, and it will not be denied. We love you, and we are watching over you.